I'm going to do a quick tarot reading in my car. Over the past few weeks, I've been sensing this intense shift in human consciousness, and I've been sensing a shift in people's desire to put forth something positive and loving into the world instead of negative and destructive. I've even been feeling it myself. I'm not usually a very negative person, but the past few years have been rough. And we all get tired and we all get exhausted and we all put forth cheapened versions of ourselves that don't quite fulfill our soul's mission. And I've been finding it really hard to just cling to reality in a way that I want to present myself. So I was going to do a reading about the meaning of this shift that I'm sensing, and other psychics and metaphysical practitioners have talked about this too. I think we're headed somewhere really, really good. It's been a really long haul, and I'm hoping that the genuineness and the authenticity of this shift that I'm feeling can be verified, maybe with the cards today. So I'm just going to draw some cards and we'll see where that gets us. I'm using the Wildwood Tarot today. I want to know what's next for humanity. Seven of Bows, Seven of Wands. So, struggle. Struggle. There's one last haul, one last gauntlet that we're going to face, and we're all exhausted anyway. The Ten of Stones, home. So we're feeling a bit unmoored. We're feeling a bit unsettled, and like we don't have sure footing, and I'm just sensing that we're really tired, and we don't have a home base anymore, and that can be a good thing. When we cling to tradition that is destructive or reductive, that actually prevents us from expanding our consciousness and realizing our full potential. And so this unmooring, this shift away from what is known and what is comfortable and what is certain, I think is long overdue, and I foresee this as a very positive thing. This is not something scary in the night. Evil things coming to get us. This is like we're finally getting out of our own way, and we're prepared to shift into a higher level of ability and perspective. The Nine of Arrows, dedication. We sense the nature and scope of our higher purpose, and we, for the first time perhaps ever, we feel a sense of calling to this mission, because we've already had a lot to deal with, a lot of sacrifice in our lives, a lot of hardship, a lot of challenging discoveries, and we're ready to inherit that legacy and take hold of the challenge and the mission that lays before us. So this is I would say is a rare orientation to daily life that humanity has not really embraced with much dedication or energy in the past, without quick burnout or short-sightedness. And so it's almost like we're entering a new era of human consciousness, one in which we're prepared to inherit our full abilities and apply them to the major challenge of furthering humanity from here. I'm going to draw 3 more cards. Ace of Arrows, the Breath of Life. So in this deck, the arrows are like swords. So this is like, we're ready to take action. We are prepared physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally to actually make real change. Like I said, the arrows are the suit of action. So, in the past, our action orientation has been cheapened by our lack of preparation, our lack of sincere motive, our lack of comprehensive understanding of what's happening around us. But now, as I said before, we're prepared to take action. We have the resource necessary internally to draw back this arrow and let it go with full commitment and certainty and a sense of mission and purpose where we haven't before. So I think big changes are on the horizon, and I'm talking about a major shift in human consciousness that humanity might not have even seen before, certainly in the modern era, in postmodernism, in late capitalism. I'm not surprised I pulled this one. The Hooded Man, also known as the Hermit. So the Hermit is all about withdrawal for healing, withdrawal for acquisition of wisdom. So just as I suspected, people are drawing into themselves and harnessing their energy. It's not being siphoned away and sucked away by other malevolencies and nefarious cultural drain on our time and our self-awareness. People are withdrawing like an ocean pulling back before it hits the shore, before the waves roll back forward and the whole force of the water can fully make that impact. So this is almost like the calm before the storm. And again, in this case, I don't think the storm is a bad thing, but we're pulling back, we're withdrawing from our usual routines, familiar people, familiar ways of thinking, familiar places. Like I said, we're unmoored. We are not at home anymore, home being the old way. And so we're performing this very intentional process of withdrawal and reassessment and reevaluation of all of our abilities and our outlook so that we can move forward with all of our resources at our disposal. This is a very rare occurrence. I'm very happy that I'm here to see it, but I do think this shift that's happening is real. I'm going to draw one last card and that'll be our whole story. What do we have here? The Queen of Arrows. So with all of this preparatory work that we're doing, we are going to be prepared to take action, like I said. And this is the Queen of Arrows, not the King of Arrows or the Queen of Swords. Anytime a female archetype pops up in the tarot, I choose to read that as historically attributed to feminine virtues, values, and qualities. So the Queen of Arrows is going to take action that demonstrates care. In this case, I think care for humanity. Because again, we're at the archetypal level of femininity and femaleness. So historically and traditionally, women have been the caregivers and the caretakers, the people responsible for naming and valuing the virtue of love and nurturing and safeguarding these things culturally. And I hope I'm not too forward in saying that we've had a huge dip in culture away from valuing the archetypal feminine. We don't care for others. We don't care for the planet historically and today. We just have lost touch with our abilities as humans to connect and to care for each other and the places and spaces that we hold dear. and that define us as a species. And so there's a action-oriented shift toward responsible caretaking, toward visionary thinking, toward the loving and nurturing sense of purpose that will guide us forward, and away from destruction, away from the march of tradition that is actually holding us back and alienating us from our abilities. So this is a very, very exciting time to be alive. And you might have also noticed I'm kind of struggling these days with my words. I'm not usually someone that does that, but I feel like an internal shift is happening, and I'm sure many of you feel it as well, but I don't feel like my old self. I've learned some things, and not just everyday routine things like basic skills. I'm talking about, like, I feel like my soul is undergoing a shift in how it moves me through the world. So I'm sure many of you are feeling something similar, and I just want you to know I think that this story is leading us step by step to a better place. Humanity has such a capacity for good and for evil, and I really think that we have over-exercised our ability for evil, myself included. No one is spared from this claim, and it would be nice to see us in the next few millennia, provided the planet lasts that long. It would really be nice to see us explore some of our other abilities. And I don't know, I feel like it's going to elevate us to a place of our imagination. So take care. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you again for the next reading.